In the 8th century, a monk in Jerusalem became the first Christian to write against Islam. His name was Saint John of Damascus, and he called Islam not a new revelation, but a heresy. The heresy of the Ishmaelites. Today, his insights are more relevant than ever, especially when we compare his arguments with the Bible, the Quran, Hadith, and modern research. Saint John had many criticisms of Muhammad, but maybe the biggest one was the issue with Muhammad's morality. You see, Muhammad claims to be a continuation of Moses and Jesus, a messenger of God. However, Moses and Jesus teach Holy Communion with God and unity, whereas Muhammad seems to teach the basest of human desires, the pleasures of the flesh. You see, not only did Muhammad say that you can have as many concubines as you please. Now, a concubine is a woman who is taken into slavery and performs sexual slavery for their master. But on top of having as many concubines as you possess, Muhammad also said it was lawful for Muslims to have up to 4 wives. Now, this here isn't the issue. But what is the issue is that Muhammad had a revelation from God in which he specifically was allowed to have any woman he wanted, even if it goes beyond that limit of 4. And what's funny is Aisha also had something to say about this. She says it seems almost suspicious that Muhammad receives a revelation right at the moment that he desires something. To Saint John, this was not holiness, but indulgence. Law made to sanctify his desires. Now, Saint John's next critique needs a little bit of historical knowledge. In Arabia around Muhammad's time, if you adopted a son, he was like your true son. There was no difference in law, there was no difference in society. He was as true as a son as a biological son would be. And on top of this, you were forbidden to marry your son's wife. It was socially and lawfully forbidden. Now that you understand this, I want to share with you John's next critique. Muhammad had adopted a boy called Zayd. He had a wife. Muhammad desired his wife. So Zayd said, "I'm going to divorce her for you." Now, after this divorce happened, Muhammad took her and married her. All of a sudden, there was revelation from God, saying that Allah specifically married her to Muhammad so that the believers should have no blame in doing the same. There was also another revelation that adopted sons are not your true sons. This completely 180'd on the law and societal norms at the time, and Saint John argues it was specifically private passion that had rewritten public morality, not God. Now, to further build upon these points, Saint John mocks the afterlife promised in the Quran. He says there is a paradise where he will have carnal intercourse with women, eating and drinking, and all manners of pleasures. You see, to the ascetic Saint John, a heaven of appetite revealed a religion of the flesh. And as we know, the Bible directly contradicts this. The Bible shows that when we go to heaven, we're unified in eternal communion with God. We will no longer have these desires, these carnal appetites. We will no longer be slaves to the flesh. This was a dead giveaway to Saint John. How could someone claiming to be the continuation of Moses and Jesus completely contradict what they taught? We can see in Sahih al-Bukhari that Muhammad used to have sexual intercourse with all 11 of his wives within a single day. And his child bride Aisha used to have to clean the semen off of his clothes. When compared to prophets of the past, when compared to holy people during the presence of Saint John's day, it's very easy and clear to see the comparison between monks who abstain from sexual intercourse and having a wife and Muhammad as he's presented here. Everything you've just heard appears in a short section of John's writings, Heresies 101. St. John mentions no other scandals, no Aisha story, no late legends. He does talk a lot about the contradictions within the Quran and other characteristics of Muslims and Muhammad, but I did not want to cover those. I just wanted to focus on the desires of the flesh, on Muhammad's polygamy, his desire for his son's wife, and his description of a sensual heaven. These points alone are enough to convince St. John that Muhammad is not a prophet, not being guided and sent by God to deliver a message to people. And I think the points he makes are incredibly clear. We are told in the Bible to judge by the fruit that something or someone bears, and it is very easy to see the fruits that Muhammad bears. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and God bless.